Now we're going to start talking about the state design pattern. And the state design pattern says that an object should be able to alter its behavior depending on its internal state. And as a matter of fact, it can alter its behavior so much that the object appears to be an object of entirely different class. So that's the idea. You get different behavior from an object depending on its internal state. You may give it the same inputs, but depending on its internal state, you would get different results, different outputs. Let's take a look at a state example. Here we're going to draw a state diagram that shows the 4 states that a program can get into. This is going to be a program that rents out apartments to people who want to rent apartments, and here's what it looks like. This is a state diagram, and it has 4 states waiting. That is, it's waiting for someone to give it an application, give the program an application. Got an application, so some potential renter has submitted an application, rented an apartment, and the program is renting the person an apartment, and fully rented. That is when there's no more apartments available to rent. So those are the 4 states of our state diagram, of our program. So what happens is the program waits for somebody to submit an application. Then it enters the state, got an application. Next step is to check the application. And if the application is rejected, then you go back to the waiting state, as you see here. So if you get an application and the application is rejected, you go back to the waiting state. If the application was accepted, you want to rent an apartment. The program should rent an apartment to the person who's submitted the application, and you do that by dispensing the keys, and then you have to check, you make a choice. If there are more apartments available, you go back into the waiting state, waiting for somebody else to submit an application. If there are not more apartments available, and you're full up, your apartment building is full up, you go to the fully rented state. So that's the 4 states involved in this diagram: the waiting state, the got an application state, the rented apartment state, and the fully rented state. Now we're going to put together an example in code showing how this works, and we're going to show how the object that does the renting can change its internal state, and how its outputs will depend on what its internal state is. So if, for example, you're in the fully rented state and you have somebody who submits an application, you're going to have a rejection because there's no more apartments to rent. So even if it's a valid application, it's going to be rejected if the object is in the fully rented state. So we're going to take a look at how this works in code coming up next, and that will be the state design pattern.